Welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining us. This is May 28th, 2025, and it is also Wednesday. Now, before I get started, in case you get to hear this, Jeff, you're in our prayers, and just want to say we're thinking of you. When you get on the other side of this, brother, we're waiting to hear from your comments, so we will be thinking of you. It is also Discord Day, so 5 p.m. Eastern Time after the markets close, we'll have a bit of a discussion. Feel free to join us there, or if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll talk about those. Now, we've got a lot to cover. I'll do my best. Now, we've got a no bid for bonds. Now, this has happened with the Japanese bond long sale yesterday. However, the United States does have treasury sales going on today. So we will be keeping an eye on that. More on that in a bit. The large thing we will be looking at will be Nvdia earnings after the market close and a couple of other news items. So with that, let's get started as always with what's going on in the markets. Beer greed meter to start with 65. It's dropped a couple of points, but still clearly in great territory, still holding on to retailers looking at this with the booming market. And indeed, if you look at the stocks at the moment, they're up quite a bit in the green. However, opening this morning looks as if it's mixed, volatile, and very much wavering. So a lot of this is on the consumer confidence yesterday had a strong rebound, and I should put that in air quotes because it's looking very volatile itself. So issuing a bit of word of caution on this. Also urging caution are if you look at the futures. Futures are looking a bit down under pressure, as well as the fear trade looking to swap. Now, gold up. This is on a little bit more stability as well as silver. Crude oil up on the war front. We'll talk about that in a bit. We've got the US 10-year yield rising. This is as we're going into treasury markets. I'll talk about that in a moment. Now, the US dollar is getting a bit of a bump, which is the outlier now. This is relative strength in comparison to the other currencies. Now, another warning we're getting from cryptocurrencies, they are beginning to drop. As these drop, this is the risk of trade going down. So going back to risk off, which is money flowing back into gold, the volatility index increasing, and a drop in the equities market. Now we're going to watch this because the bond market and the treasury yield will affect this. As this yield goes up, it says that money will flow into the markets, but as it is, as I'm saying now, wavering. So this says US stocks likely to open lower, and the global macro director at Fidelity Investments kind of sums it up in a good way. A new modest bear market is now underway. So not the sharp, significant drops, however, is trending on weakness. So let's go back to the bonds and the drivers of this market today for a moment. The 40-year bond sale was, in short, a failure. Now, this could drive reaction from the Bank of Japan. And if they are having to hike their rates, they are going to find themselves, so to speak, painted into a corner. We know, if you have been here for some time, that actions by the Bank of Japan can have serious effects in the United States markets. With this, we've got massive issuance also of United States bonds coming with all of this debt that they are now printing. It is the way that they print from the Federal Reserve is through the issuance of these. Now we've got supply and demand. They're saying under discussion. This means they are watching the auction as it comes out, and they're going to have to adjust. And what is going to happen? They're still going to issue these. They must have this debt. And if you understand how the economy is running off of this debt driven. They're saying all of these numbers are wonderful, and it is only because they can expand this debt. So what this means is they're going to continue to issue, but if they get no buyers, it will be the Federal Reserve. They are the buyer of last resort. Now, after this, I've got, can AI save us? Artificial intelligence from this debt bubble. Now, I don't mean necessarily artificial intelligence, other than from the production, because production is the one way you can get out of leveraged debt. So this would have to be leveraged production and to put towards the GDP. But really, what I mean from this is what the market is looking forward to is the earnings release after market closes today of Nvdia. Now, can they offset all of the export curbs, if you will? We'll find out. In other news, Nippon Steel allowed to go through with the purchase of US Steel, calling this a convenient deal because they're saying that this is what the United States wants. It's going to keep jobs in the country. They're saying this is being allowed so long as the United States holds the chips on this, if you will, pun intended, because they have the end say so, if you will. We've got a new head of the WEF possibly coming in. Talk about that in a moment. Looking at the calendar, we have the Fed presidents coming out. Kashkari speaking is over in Tokyo. So the timing of that came out prior to the market open. This is with all of the things going on over there. So 2 p.m., we are expecting the May Federal Open Market Committee meeting of the Fed. It will kind of give us a bit of direction. Now, as I was saying, Thursday morning prior to the market opens, so you have to set yourself up for this. We're getting jobless claims reports, GDP. Now, see in quotes, first revision. These are revised numbers. They are manipulated. We understand this, but we're looking to these because this is what the Fed is going to be working on, if you will. Pending home sales. This, a bit of a bust. Now, we've got news on home prices. Top 20 US markets declined for the first time in over 2 years. However, also had that in April, home sales were up because mortgage rates dropped temporarily. So we'll see how this tug of war goes on for the housing market. Now, with all of this going on, manipulation of the currencies, the bond markets, the debt markets are about to implode. They are very unstable. If you've been following with this, if you're new here today, there's much more in depth with this. As I said, if you have questions, put them below or feel free to join in the discussion. Now we've got DeSantis, this is the governor of Florida, signing a law allowing gold and silver for transactions in Florida, saying that this is due to the declining dollar concerns. Now, this is all correct. However, it shouldn't take law is already on for gold and silver to be allowed for transactions in accordance with the Constitution. We're watching more of a shift back to this. If we do, this could signify definite shift with the currencies. So back to what's going on in the market, stock specific. We've got Stellantis. They've got a new CEO, Velosa. Now, this is with Jeep. He was the head of them for a while. In surprising news, Nissan is looking to get a loan from the UK, over $7 billion. Now, they've got a large stake going on here in Renault. They're talking about selling that over 15%. This could affect stocks in the Eurozone. Of course, this could also spur Japan to act because they're massive Japanese automaker, and there were talks of Honda possibly purchasing them. That fell through. So this could also kind of play into that failed bond auction. There are global things going on right now, and these are all in a shift for a massive change that is about to happen. I've got Standard Chartered coming out saying the US dollar may face a major drop in 2026. At the same time, the devil's advocate view of this, there still at this moment is a massive dollar desire for King Dollar because it is still the reserve currency. So while it's going to have a massive drop in value will continue, relative strength also dropping. At the time, however, there is still massive demand for the dollars, which could cause a supply shock. So the whole, uh, if you will, scenario of this, that there is going to be a short period of time where there is massive demand for dollars and cause a spike before this drop. So US dollar crash versus crunch, that's what that is referring to. And we'll see how that plays out. It's going to happen. It is only a question of timing. Now, more speak about this debt versus growth model for just a moment. Artificial intelligence, the whole narrative is that it will be able to cause enough growth, very similar to the Industrial Revolution, in that the production and could boost GDP to outrun the current debt that has been run by the political weakness, if you will, on the current reserve currency, which is the US dollar. So, can this actually happen? They're running models now. I would say this growth from artificial intelligence would have to be massive, would have to be immediate. And with that growth curve, which is totally possible, it also would be, in essence, untamed. So, there would be massive risk coming with this. You never get anything for free. And this type of growth would have to be parabolic. So, with parabolic growth comes parabolic risk. So, one more word I would like to say wheat. Why wheat? There is also very quietly in the background a lot of issues with the supply United States wheat. We've got a lot of crop failure and a lot of headwinds. So watching these with commodities as we're moving forward with this debt shift to the currencies coming out of equities for the long run, still showing massive weakness as well as structural risk. So, caution moving forward on equities for the long term. Now, I'd like to revisit a little bit more globally and kind of starting out with her at the bottom. Yes, talking about Christine Lagarde. Now, just yesterday talked about how she sees opportunities to raise Euro's global profile. Well, now we see how she's going to do this. As she's talking about becoming head of the World Economic Forum, she's talking about possibly leaving her current position early in order to do this. Now, I'd like to bring up a quote she brought up. We'll be happier having a job rather than having protected savings. Now, when she says we, she's employing the royal we because she doesn't mean herself. She means everybody else. So I want to point that out that that's kind of not exactly human coming from that. Now, I want to give a little bit of the control aspect that they intend on having, just simply from the IMF as they're giving loans to El Salvador and how this is going to happen forward, because they're talking about more loans, the BRICS giving loans, and I'll speak about Russia in a moment. But back to the IMF, they are controlling El Salvador with their loan, saying that they need to make efforts to stop purchasing Bitcoin, even though they have made massive gain from this, and that this asset class has actually been a balance for them of this loan. So it is completely unhedged as far as a different country. It's not tied to any war effort, expansion, or threat. So ask why they're trying so hard to suppress them from owning an outside asset that they cannot control. That's part of the answer itself because they do want control. So back to the BRICS nations now issuing loans, anti-dollarizing. The latest on this front that I just want to bring forward with this is Russia. now offering loans in the rubles and backed by their gold and commodity of oil supply. So giving commodity-backed based loans to other countries. They are beginning to expand. That is also de-dollarizing. Got a few more things I would like to cover prior to closing this out. I know this is getting a bit long, but with just short SpaceX Starship rocket spinning out of control, they were trying to launch more satellites for Starlink. This is part of the infrastructure that is still going up and going to play a large part forward. Now, just going along with this story, below Starlink and Aura rings, helping to monitor sailor fatigue underway. This pairing is biometrics with massive control, uploading military monitoring, if you will. They always start with the military. Why? Because they are bound to this. They are unable to sue the government, and they are also always the test structure, if you will. I'll just leave the short of that there. We can talk about that more this evening. Now, ZKPs can prove the age for this. They have a lot of claims that they need to prove age, they need to prove identity, and zero knowledge is what this is. In short, zero knowledge proof. It's a cryptographic solution that could be outside of this control with all of the identity. So there is a possibility, and I just want to bring this up before you go giving up your biometrics for identity purposes, whether it's traveling or otherwise, you can still opt out. At least if you're an American, some areas you cannot. But we've got to fight against this as much as possible, resist it at least. Now, Russia warning about the Golden Dome scheme. This is one of the reasons that oil is up this morning. It's because Washington planning for a global anti-ballistic missile system. In the words of Zakharova, who is the foreign ministry, saying that it's eroding strategic stability. We've also got North Korea warning that this could push towards nuclear issues. So have to be cautious what I say on that. With this, I'm going to wish you all a wonderful day. As far as trading, and until I see you again, my friends, resist,